Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach and today I am driving a 2018 Toyota RAV4 XLE Hybrid. Up front is a 2.5 liter inline 4 as well as a hybrid drive system, and down below is a CVT. Now I'm super excited to be driving this here RAV4 for two reasons. First of all, I've never reviewed a RAV4 in this body style. This body style lasted till 2018, and so I haven't done one yet. But the second reason is the fact that this is a hybrid, which makes it a little bit different than the normal RAV4, and I'm excited to get into that. But before we get on with the rest of the video, if you are looking to help out the channel, there are a couple links in the description below from our awesome sponsors. One of which is Cash for Cars if you're looking to sell your used car. One is from Fixed, a Bluetooth OBD2 sensor to help diagnose your vehicle, and another from Conplates. Conplates is a suction cup license plate mount for your vehicle in case you don't want to drill into your front bumper. Each purchase or quote goes towards helping the channel, and it's greatly appreciated, so let's get on with the video. So let's get back to that hybrid drive system found here in the RAV4. Well, like I said, it's a 2.5 liter inline 4 that works alongside with an electric motor. On board is a 204 cell nickel metal hydride battery, which is actually found under the back seats. We'll talk about that in a second. And a system that splits the power between electric and gasoline. Now, because this is an all-wheel drive model, this actually gets a second different independent electric motor at the rear wheels. That's how it's able to have all-wheel drive, so there's actually no drive shaft or any gasoline power going to the rear wheels. There's just a separate motor that can kind of decide things on its own. That is a 50 kilowatt high voltage motor, and it raises the RAV4 to have a 1,750 pound towing capacity. Now in the towing world, that's not a whole lot, but at least it's better than the standard. Now with the electric system and the gasoline engine, this car cranks out 194 horsepower, which isn't bad for a vehicle in this segment. I know the naturally aspirated Mazda CX-5 of the same year had 186 horsepower, so it actually makes more power than that. But what you really want to know is the fuel economy. And with the hybrid system, you get 34 in the city and 30 on the highway, which for an SUV is pretty good. And you do have some nice features of the hybrid, like the fact that you could drive it in EV mode at low speeds. And like we mentioned earlier, that all-wheel drive system is optional with an additional electric motor. What I don't like about the hybrid is that sometimes, on occasion, it can be a little bit clunky going from the gasoline engine to the electric motors. I was backing this car out of a parking spot, and halfway through me backing up, the motor kicked in. And me, of course, not owning this vehicle kind of shocked me. I wasn't prepared for that. And so I'm sure owning a hybrid, over time, you're going to get very used to that. But there is going to be just a small little learning curve to figure out when it's going to kick into hybrid mode and when it won't. One thing I do want to mention is Toyota battery packs have a tendency to go out after 10 years. At least that's what we saw with the Toyota Priuses of the early 2000s. Most of them need their batteries replaced. However, the battery is considered a wear item, and Toyota knows about that issue of batteries going out after 10 years. So replacing one won't be too hard. It will be expensive because of the price of batteries. However, battery technology is getting better and better every single day. So as the future goes on, I can imagine that would be less and less of an issue. Plus, these cars haven't been around for 10 years, so they might not even have that battery issue. Only time will tell. Last but not least, again, like I mentioned at the top of the video, this car is all-wheel drive, given the fact that it has an extra rear electric motor helping out. With that out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have two gauges in front of me. On the left is what would be a tachometer, but it's actually my charge and power gauge. So when I'm cruising off the gas, it's down in that charging area because it's actually regenerating some of that power. When I am on the gas, I'm in the eco range, but when I floor it, I'm up into the power range. So when you're up in the power range, you're being the least efficient, and when you're charging, you're being the most efficient. Down at the bottom, I do have coolant temperature, and on the right, I have a traditional speedometer and fuel gauge. Along with, I do have a information screen in the center of the gauge cluster, which is very nice, very easy to see, and very easy to use. On the steering wheel, I have my audio controls on the left, voice options, phone options, things of that nature. And on the right, I have my selector dial for that center screen and the gauge cluster, as well as I have my back button, trip, and my pre-collision alert button. The steering wheel itself actually feels pretty nice. It has this sort of stitching around the airbag, which I think adds a nice premium feel to it. And I like that a lot, especially this being an XLE. It's sort of a higher trim, which is fantastic. To the left of me, I have the power mirrors, dimmer switches, and lane keep assist. And on the door, I have my power locks and power windows. Moving into the center, I do have a little information cluster up at the very top along with my hazard switch. This will tell me who's buckled, as well as my traction control is found here. And then I do have a little infotainment system. Nothing too crazy, we won't spend too much time on it, but what I do want to talk about is the hybrid screen. It'll tell you exactly where the power is going and where the power is coming from while you're driving. So right now the engine is helping out the battery. Now it's just the battery going to the wheels, and it keeps switching while you're driving. It's some interesting geeky knowledge for you. I also get weather and things like that, and then the backup camera actually is pretty nice for 2018. Now 2018 was the first year here in the United States that it was legally required that all vehicles have to have backup cameras, and the quality isn't bad, and when I turn the wheel the lines adjust as well, which is always something I look for and always a pleasant feature in cars. Down below that center screen I do have the climate controls themselves. I have auto as well as dual zone climate, which is fantastic, and of course the regular fan speed and all of that jazz. Moving down below, I do have EV mode and eco mode buttons, so I can actually switch that on my own if I'd like. However, the car is free to reject that. If you're going too fast for EV mode or something, it just won't enable it. And I also have sport mode. Then I have the USB and aux input, as well as a 12-volt outlet, and I get a nice little cubby and a cup holder. Now I have cup holders at the front and rear of the center console, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the RAV4 Hybrid, and unfortunately it fails. It looks like it would. It really, really does, but the actual little arms that come out end up stopping the bottle from going all the way down and thus failing the RAV4 Hybrid. But in between those cup holders, we do have the shifter. The shifter is out of pretty much every other Toyota ever made in this era. I call it the jigsaw shifter, and it's nothing too crazy. It looks nice, it looks presentable, but again, nothing too crazy. I do have a parking brake off to the left, and I do have a center console at the very bottom. It's a dual purpose center console, so you have a small little lid for small items, and then you can actually open it up to a larger compartment for larger items. The seats are nice and comfortable. These are seat covers because the owner, David, is a mechanic, so he doesn't want to ruin his seats, so he got these nice seat covers. So that's not the original upholstery on them. However, I think that they are decently comfortable. They're not Rolls-Royce seats, but this isn't a Rolls-Royce, so to be expected there. But speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2018 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. Headroom, good. Legroom, good. For a vehicle in this segment, completely on par with its competitors. Again, this is a seat cover back here. This is not the original material. However, something I did want to note back here is the battery pack is actually under these seats for the hybrid system. Now, that's not an issue. It's not making the seats less comfortable or anything like that. But if you'll notice on the side there are these vents for the battery pack to let heat out. This is something you're definitely going to want to take note, especially if you have kids back here and they might shove a stuffed animal in between the door and the seat. You're going to want to keep these vents clear. You don't want to clog up the way that the RAV4 gets its heat out. With that being said, let's take a quick look at the cargo space and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so coming around the back of the RAV4, little button here. And there we go. I do get this nice privacy cover. I have some hooks here and things of that nature. I don't seem to get a 12-volt outlet, which is something I would have liked to have seen back here in SUVs in this segment, but not the end of the world. I have this nice RAV4 mat, and then I do have some tie downs here as well. You can also put the second row of seats down, which is really, really nice. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I think the RAV4 looks very bland. I don't think it's anything interesting. I don't think it's cool, different, or unique. It was ready for a refresh by the time it got to this age of 2018, and it did get that. 2019 was a new body style for the RAV4, and especially being a silver Toyota product, I don't think this could really be picked out of a crowd. But now let's get to my final thoughts here on the hybrid RAV4. Well, a couple things to note. I like the hybrid drive system. I like the fact that it gets a lot better gas mileage than the standard RAV4. 30-34 is pretty flippin' good. And I like the fact that you can run it in EV mode. I like the fact that Toyota even offered a hybrid in the RAV4. I think the RAV4 is a really great sized SUV. There's plenty of cargo space. You can take your friends in the back. It's not too big, it's not too small. It's almost the Goldilocks of SUV sizes. And yet it's also offered in a hybrid, something that the Mazda CX-5 still isn't offered in. But Toyota has always been ahead of the game when it comes to hybrid technology, and this is just another one of those vehicles. This car won't make a statement on the red carpet. I don't think I would choose this one to show up to my next movie premiere, but that's okay. I've reviewed one of David's cars on the channel before. It's a rotary swapped 1981 Toyota Corolla. It's a project car through and through. He just picked up a Ford rear end for it. That's his passion. That's his love, is that car. And so this is just something to get from A to B, something to get him to his job to fund his car, something to run to the parts store when his Corolla is on jack stands and leaking every fluid imaginable. This is just something to go and get food after you've been wrenching on your Corolla for 14 straight hours. This car isn't meant to be the showstopper. It's meant to be dependable, comfortable, and just there when you need it. And that is absolutely what the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid is. You probably won't see it on the cover of a magazine, but you will see it in your driveway, starting every morning. You will see it after a long, frustrating night, but you won't see it at the gas station all that much. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to my good friend David for letting me take out his RAV4 Hybrid. I was excited to do this review. I haven't driven this body style or a hybrid RAV4 yet, and I'm pleasantly surprised. Toyota, they're solid cars. They really, really are, and this is just another chapter in that book. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.